Hello there everybody, my name is Jaredude, here with what I guess is the first, or maybe fourth episode of a new series of sorts. Probably the most indecisive intro I've done in a while, but anyways, this series is called Making Titanfall 3, where we'll be discussing what we as a community would like to see in Titanfall 3. Perhaps Respawn will see some of these videos, maybe not, but hey, we'll have fun with this. Earlier this year, I created 3 videos that are pretty much what the series will be. I talked about if there should be new or returning Titans, then if the game is actually coming, and most recently, a general wish list. For these new videos on the way though, I want to incorporate your thoughts. For this video, I collected tweets after asking how people would like to see DLC handled in Titanfall 3. That's what we're focusing on in this video, we'll get to that in a moment. But getting back to the series overall, my plan is to release a new video every 2 to 3 weeks, as we likely are still a year and a half, even a little bit more than that, away from Titanfall 3 releasing, so there's no real rush to talk about everything, but we certainly will be getting into some pretty specific topics. Right before diving into it, starting with my thoughts and some of the tweets, for the next video in this series, it'll be about pilot weapons, so please comment below on this video on how many pilot weapons there should be, plus what types of classes, mods, if we should have an anti-Titan and secondary, or just one of them, or anything else in general specifically about pilot weapons. Just please let me know how you would like to see pilot weapons handled in Titanfall 3. And just to clarify, this has nothing to do with DLC. Once again, this video here is about DLC. That next video will just be about weapons from launch. Perhaps we could talk about DLC a little bit more then as well. But anyways, for the DLC for Titanfall 3, I've had my thoughts change quite a lot actually, as for a while I was thinking that bringing back paid DLC maps would be good, because then we get more original content. While I love the fact that there were free maps in Titanfall 2, talking about facts here, that all of the general maps except for one were remakes from the first game, I just didn't like it. Perhaps in an alternate reality where Titanfall 2 blew up in popularity, we'd have seen more original maps instead of just glitch. With the less than hoped for sales though, it really wouldn't surprise me if the plans were changed. As Respawn promised free DLC maps prior to launch, they had to uphold their commitment, but to reduce costs, ended up creating remakes instead of making new maps. Fast forward to modern day though, and I do think that paid maps in this current gaming climate is a dying practice. Instead, character and weapon skins are being monetized, most commonly through the use of loot boxes. Titanfall 2 introduced camos for weapons and titans, known as war paints, most of which could be earned for free with the use of the in-game currency or randomly receiving them as an advocate gift, but there was paid elite weapon skins, and prime titans, which changed the appearance and voice of titans. There was no paid random loot boxes or crates of any type though. I really think that Titanfall 3 should have loot boxes, but limited to cosmetic items. Perhaps Prime Titans could stay the way they are in Titanfall 2 by being able to individually unlock them, bringing that to Titanfall 3. For pilots though, weapons and titans, the war paints could still have some of them to be unlocked through challenges, but instead of having the advocate gift system be completely free, introduce paid advocate keys for the advocate gifts. Now, I know some of you may think this is dumb, but these loot systems really make a lot of money. Once again, keep all this strictly cosmetic though. Perhaps the idea to buy in-game currency could happen. Respawn did seem to make a point in this menu system that they were against that practice, but then later the starter pack, which costs real money, was introduced, which includes 500 credits. In this case, the credit system would have to be reworked, so war paints and weapons, pilot tacticals, ordnance, etc. are separate from the cosmetic items. Once again, I'm only in support of loot boxes when it's all cosmetic. Just want to drill that into it. I do not support loot boxes outside of strictly, well, you get it. Anyways, the reason for pushing this is the #1 request I have for Titanfall 3's DLC overall is to have original maps. A couple of remasters would be welcomed, and man, I know it does come off entitled to say I want original maps, while we got several free maps that just happen to be remasters. But I'm just trying to be totally open here. Titanfall 2's DLC always breathed some life into the game, and most of the maps brought from Titanfall 1 to 2 worked well in the second game, but it just would have been great to have more original content. Bringing in a loot box system to make more money to help subsidize original maps is my whole point here. I think it could work well. Glitch is my second favorite map of the entire series. My favorite is War Games, which I still think is the perfect Titanfall map, but Glitch in Titanfall 2, it was such a nice surprise, and it was so good, like, to see what Respawn is capable of, as some of the Titanfall 2 launch maps didn't play nearly as well as the first games did, in my opinion, and I think a lot of the remasters that were brought from the first game, of course, did play a lot better in Titanfall 2. To summarize this, though, paying for maps would split up the player base, so I do not support that, and just people don't really want to pay for maps anymore. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this, it is really a dying practice. Call of Duty still does it, but I mean, Battlefield is abandoning it, which perhaps was influenced by Titanfall 2's system, as, I mean, a lot of people did come back to play the new maps, and I think that was a great thing. And yeah, there's a bunch of other games now that are doing free maps. I mean, Overwatch does it, Rainbow Six Siege, I believe, does it as well. There's a whole lot that do this system, and it seems to be widely accepted while having a lot of loot cosmetic items. Now, perhaps the landscape could change in the next couple of years, because I still do think this game will come out in 2020, Titanfall 3 talking about, of course, but probably not too much. I mean, it really seems like everything is still starting to go. I mean, I'm sure Call of Duty at some point will adapt the whole free map system, just not this year. One thing I probably should mention is that there was live fire within the live fire maps, which of course were all original, as the game mode was introduced in Titanfall 2, but having them mainly limited to live fire, besides the handful of times the Nitro featured game modes came around. As someone who's never loved live fire, and I really don't care to play it unless a new map comes out, I guess I'll play a few rounds on it. I seldom play these maps anyways, and yeah, just having them not be able to be played in, well, just regular modes besides live fire. I mean, I think live fire, the game mode itself, could work on larger maps. Of course, there would have to be some adjustments to the time, but I just think it would be more efficient for Respawn with their development time and use of resources to create more general maps instead of just creating these maps limited to live fire. Now, I'm sure the live fire maps were not too long to create, or didn't take too long, as they are pretty tiny, but still, just, even if it would have meant just like 2 more original maps to have none of the live fire maps, I think that would have been a lot better, to be honest. Moving on from maps, new pilot weapons, please Respawn. It was announced prior to launch that there would be new weapons. In reality, we got the R101 and Wingman Elite, variants of guns already in the game. Like I mentioned earlier, perhaps plans were changed after the game sales were lower than expected, but I mean, new weapons would have been great in Titanfall 2, especially with there not being a ton of pilot weapons in the base game. Certainly more than Titanfall 1, but in 2, there was literally 2 shotguns, 3 LMGs, 3 snipers. There really should have been more added, or just more from launch. For Titans, the launch of Monarch really brought back a lot of people to the game. We have yet to see how Titans will work in Titanfall 3, but just for the sake of bringing back these old players, seeing new Titans again would be great. Perhaps 2 or 3, maybe even more. Looking at Overwatch, they have introduced multiple heroes, which I think you can compare the way Titans worked in Titanfall 2 to Overwatch, at least in the sense that they have the weapon they are limited to, plus their abilities. And you could make some comparisons, I guess, to Rainbow Six Siege as well, but anyways, just that whole idea of having like a hero operator or a Titan, at least if the Titans are going to work how they do in Titanfall 2. If they do go to a more customization-based model in the third game that's more comparable to the first, well, I still think having new Titan chassis could work, but we'll have to see. I mean, I'm kind of wary about talking about the Titans because I mean, they could be completely changed again to have more customization, as that was very highly requested so far. And just while talking about the Titans a little bit, I mean, if they do go closer to the way of Titanfall 1 with customization, and you can kind of make the Titans more like your own instead of having voices for the Titans before. I mean, I honestly really loved having the voice packs in Titanfall 1, but we just, once again, I really don't know how Titans are going to work. None of us do, so I'm kind of like, well, if they do the whole hero system for Titanfall 3 again, just with more Titans or whatever happens, then I guess the voice packs wouldn't really work. I mean, maybe they could, but heck, it would just be cool is what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to be totally open with all y'all. For the release schedule of DLC, the monthly releases for Titanfall 2 was fantastic and very much so appreciated. In the case that original maps are made as DLC for Titanfall 3, it may be a little too intense to release them monthly, so instead of having just a new map come out every month, perhaps 1 month, new weapon, next month, map, next month, Titan, then map, then weapon, then map, that kind of thing. I mean, yeah, like honestly, I think a weapon itself would be a big enough monthly release. I mean, they could release some new cosmetic items then too, and yeah, have the new weapon as long as it is a totally original weapon. I think that would be great, and it would be possible to keep the monthly DLC release system. But yeah, I mean, it really was fantastic in the second game. Anyways, I think I'm getting to the end of what I want to say here. For things that we haven't seen at all in Titanfall, introducing new pilot tactical abilities would be cool. Hopefully it wouldn't be a balancing issue. But, I believe that is pretty much everything I do want to say. I'm now going to be reading a good amount of tweets from some of you guys, and I may try to figure out the whole format of the show. I may change it around to incorporate the tweets more organically in the video instead of just putting them at the end like this. I'll figure it out, but anyways, here is some tweets from you guys. I'm not going to be reading quite all of them. A couple of them had nothing to do with the DLC. I think they just missed the question. But anywho, I'll read pretty much most of the tweets. I believe I had 25, something like that. While free updates are cool and all, I prefer a much more complete base game. Also, I much preferred the release weapons balance, as that was the original way Respawn meant the game to be. The community turned it around on them. Well, getting a little political here, Warfrog 101, but anyways, okay, I'm not going to be really adding comments to these, at least how we're currently doing it. Like I said, I may switch up the format here to maybe respond to the comments first, then expand upon my thoughts afterwards, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of repeat ideas, that I just said. We'll figure it out. This is, once again, kind of start to a whole new series idea here. From Alex Creeps, he says, just like TF2 did, free but with a tad bit more content, and maybe something new and original every now and then. Ferrotex, the same exact way as TF2. Keegan Benjamin, I think I would to see it handled like this game that I'm not sure if you've heard of. It's called Titanfall 2, smiley face. Jack Cooper, monthly with new content. Diego Valadez, I would pay if they give new content. If they keep remaking maps and stuff, keep it the same as in TF2. Foxelius, free and for FS. I want my single player firefight, XD. Nick Skater, a good live service like Battlefront 2, just like Titanfall 2's method but better. Have content drops every month being free, and then every few months we could have bigger and better content drops in the form of seasons, or whatever it'll be named. The microtransactions could be like Titanfall 2, skins in a reasonable price, just make the skins more complex. They could also make it so we could get these skins by grinding in-game or by buying with real money. Miles T. Focus, cosmetics for money, content for free. But, oh man, kind of censored what he said there, I don't personally curse. The DLCs need to also add some actual variety rather than a few singular maps and a single Titan/weapon. Diversity is what killed Titanfall 2 for me. It just got old too fast, playing the same 4 maps over and over again. Ender Shard, I want more story packs, but it was handled perfectly in Titanfall 2. Maybe even some crossover between multiplayer and campaign. Like games like Destiny have been able to do so well. Well, that is one thing I did not cover at all. Yeah, I mean, it would be sweet to see a campaign expansion. That's not really a thing at the moment. I mean, I guess Destiny does it, but for multiplayer focused games like Titanfall is, it's a multiplayer shooter at heart. I think that is a lot to ask. I mean, from my understanding, a lot of time went into the campaign, and that was only 5 hours, so I'm not sure if Titanfall 3 was a massive success, and they had a lot of resources given to them because of so. I mean, perhaps campaign DLC, but I wouldn't get your hopes up for that. From our Bright, couldn't ask anything more than the way it was handled in the second game, but would honestly love to see new maps rather than returning ones. One clapped boy, Askedit, LOL, you're a test tube baby. Pay DLC for things like gun camos and free DLC for extra maps. Maybe extra game modes too. Alright, that's another thing that could be added is game modes. I mean, I don't think that really ties into DLC. I guess it does a little bit. Oftentimes new game modes were released with the DLC update. But I mean, I do want to talk about game modes specifically later. But yeah, I will say that having new game modes release frequently, perhaps having some of them stay permanent, would be cool. I mean, of course, there is a whole splitting up the player base then with more game modes. Anyways, we're going to talk about that a whole lot in that video dedicated to game modes coming out at some point. Jared Nielsen, the way TF2 handled it was amazing. I'd like to see that more in video games, just in general. Maybe a little bit more content though. Moose, I think the way it was handled in TF2 was great. That being said, I would like to see more original maps in addition to whatever remasters they chose to do. And more weapons. Doesn't have to be a crazy amount, maybe similar to the amount BO3 has. Variety is key. Logan, I can't say your last name. I'm not going to assume how to say your last name. So, no, we're not going to try. Same as Titanfall 2, but I would like to see more new original maps. New weapons, new augmentations for Titans, and weapons, maybe some different kind of pilot. Daddy Darkness, earn DLC by regeneration. If not, buy it. Well, that's a pretty interesting idea with the regeneration. Yeah, that's another thing I do want to cover. Like, perhaps we'll do a sequel to this video, because I'm sure there will be new thoughts that come along. I mean, this is going to be a long-running series for probably the next year. I'll be doing this. But with regeneration, there needs to be more rewards for regeneration. There needs to be more reason to play the game in general after hitting the first, well, hitting level 50. Like, and perhaps, like, major pieces of DLC could be worth it. Like, limited skins, I guess. I'm saying like too much at the current moment. I do like the idea, Daddy Darkness, and thank you for mentioning it. Did not think of that. I also did refrain from reading these tweets before doing this video, because I wanted to not be influenced and also see some original ideas, be surprised, like I am being surprised in the moment reading these. From Precursor, free with the optional cosmetics that I spend money on. Trust, please. Crazy Shark, maybe make an actual DLC and not just an update. Maybe even make a paid $5 special edition with extra cosmetics or something. The DLC should also have dedicated weapon skins, rather than the skin packs we've gotten in the past. All I want is maps for free and paid cosmetics. Pedronian Maximus, fresh maps for multiplayer. Specific maps for Frontier Defense, maybe some added DLC campaign. Jonathan TM, less remakes and more original maps. French Fry Fiend, real DLC. If it's paid, then that's fine with me. None of the reused maps from Titanfall 1 work well in Titanfall 2, in my opinion. Hot take, maybe, I don't know. Like I mentioned earlier, I think the maps from Titanfall 1 really do work well in Titanfall 2. Edgiest Steam, 525, same as TF2. Rockazilla, everything that Respawn would do and nothing EA wants. Change nothing in a nutshell. Mango, something similar to Titanfall 2, but add a little more excitement to it, like new maps, ability to earn more, weapons, camos, etc. Probably a community type objective would also be nice. Yeah, that's a very welcome thing. I don't think it's a hard thing to do either, where it could be a limited skin that if you participate in it, you can help the community unlock it. I mean, I know some games you don't even have to do anything yourself and you just get the free skin. But yeah, that'd be nice. Have community involvement like that to get a certain amount of kills or Titan Dooms or something like that. And then finally, Jonathan S. Charles. I think it was handled perfectly in Titanfall 2. Free content drops every month, and dope cosmetic microtransactions. I spent around $100 on microtransactions in Titanfall 2, plus the cost of the game. So, pretty much, like, I'd say a lot of these thoughts you guys have are very similar to what I said in the first part of this video. So, yeah, perhaps in the future when I do these, I will try to incorporate these comments a little more organically, things that I personally agree with. But, well, then at the same time, I'm trying to bring like a lot of comments to show a lot of diversity, but it just seems like on this topic everyone is pretty much in agreement that new maps, but original maps would be great, and things like new weapons, new Titans perhaps, new game modes, and then also people supporting the loot box system. Yeah, we all seem to be generally in agreement. There's not a lot of crazy divisive is what I'm trying to say, opinions on the subject, but perhaps there could be some that weren't tweeted to me. For the future of the series, I think I'm mostly going to be sticking to YouTube comments from now on, so if you would like to leave your comments down below on anything I said in this video, or anything anyone said in this video, that would be great. We can expand this conversation a little more, or also, if you would like to leave your thoughts on next week's, well, not next week, it's probably going to be like 2-3 weeks between each one of these videos from the series called Making Titanfall 3. But yeah, for the next video, we'll be talking about the pilot weapons, pretty much anything. So anything you have to say with how pilot weapons should work in Titanfall 3, also let me know down below in the comments. But thank you so much, everyone, for watching this. Like I did kind of mention jokingly, but seriously at the beginning of this video, hopefully Respawn will see some of these videos and perhaps take some of your feedback. I mean, that's the whole idea of also including your comments to just get a general read of what the community wants. Now, I will say that perhaps some of the feedback could be a little skewed, as we as the hardcore fan base are still playing the game, but then at the same time, I mean, we're more familiar with the game, but it is kind of hard to get opinions from people who aren't interested in Titanfall 2 anymore, so I don't know. Anyway, just putting that fact out there, or putting that point out there. But yeah, that's everything. Once again, thank you all so much for watching. My name is Jaredude. Have yourself a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you in a couple weeks with the next one of these videos. Goodbye.